Welcome everyone. It is episode 10, double digits of this Treasure Insight edition, and it is February 11th, 2025. And I'm joined again by the management. The management, how are you doing? How was your trip to Philadelphia?
I am doing great. Philadelphia was fantastic. Spoiler alert, no treasure in
You're
Philadelphia.
kidding me. So
Ah, mind blowing.
the confirmation bias strategy did not pay off, it sounds like.
It didn't pay off per se, but it did get me thinking about a lot of ways that clues are going to be intertwined in the world around us and thinking about history and the greater message that John Collins Black is trying to send out and trying to figure out what that is beyond just spreading joy.
So I was hoping there'd be like special glasses left behind in Philadelphia and things you can use to read the Constitution. You're getting this philosophical grand stuff. Doesn't sound quite as good as what I
Yeah,
pictured.
I'm going a lot deeper. I did, though I'm not like this grand philosopher or anything. I did order 3D glasses off of Amazon because I remembered the whole like Ben Franklin switchy glasses from the movie. And so I was like, maybe if I put 3D glasses on, something will appear in all these textures on the AT map. But no.
And I guess you're going to take advantage of their generous return policy again, as you've been known to do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bezos.
So I drove out to Vegas as promised, and I listened to most of Ready Player One on the way out there. And you know what I got from that was the book, by the way, way better than the movie. Sorry to be that person, but the book is way better than the movie. And in the book, at least, this guy, the main character, watches like every single 1980s TV show he could find, watches every movie, every piece of music over and over again, and is just an expert in the 1980s and has to be to pick up on the clues. Which I don't mind watching all of Family Ties throughout from start to finish. I don't mind doing that. But it got me thinking that if this is kind of along the lines of what John Collins Black is trying to get at, I feel like there's a lot more work to be done to solve at least the past and future box, let alone some of the other boxes that you need to be immersed in this and then occasionally pick up on something as you come across it. So for me, I'm thinking there's probably going to be a lot more work on this than I think some people think it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely. I've tried to get a few people into it and they're so top level on it. And I'm like, I'm 6 layers deeper than you at this point, bro. I need you to speed it up here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for the people who haven't done it before and they see a word search and they pick a few words out and think that's the solve, you're like, probably not. But it was great going to Vegas and catching up with a bunch of people that we've even met on the show. Met up with Froggy in real life, who's been on the show before. That was great to have a drink with him and a good chat. Played a poker tournament, got knocked out ace on the river by Mr. Cal Lazars himself.
That's a tough flip right there.
Yeah, so he seemed to forget that later on when he reached the final table, but I got over it. But met some great people.
Sounds rigged to me.
But yeah, met some great people. Did the conference. A lot of people doing a lot of different treasure hunts. So we should highlight a few more of them on the show, I think.
Yeah, that's exciting. I had no idea that there were so many other treasure hunts out there, that there's more than just there's treasure inside. I mean, obviously I've learned about froggies, but there's several others out there, and I guess I don't know if this all spurred from the Forest Fin hunt or if this has been going on all along, but I feel like I found my people.
Yeah, I think it's been going on, but probably got accelerated a little more when Forest Fen started up and got more people into it. But you know what? My catchphrase we talk about a lot on the show, down with normies. We know that treasure hunting people are a little strange, a little weird, but that's what I love about it. The other thing though is that not just that, but people are just having good fun, good wholesome fun. And that's what the world needs right now, I think, is everyone just enjoying it, creating these treasure hunts just for the joy of giving joy to others, as Mr. John Collins Black would say. And then people are participating in them because they just want to have fun. And that's a really good thing.
I agree, and especially because everything is so politically divisive and the country is kind of in this transitional phase right now. There are so many people that are coming together and sharing ideas, and that's not part of the conversation at all. And it's unique to see all these people from different backgrounds and perspectives all interested in the same thing, kind of reminding us that we are all just people trying to get along.
I agree. And so if you are kind of over the whole narrative going on right now and politics and that sort of thing, I think treasure hunting is one of the answers.
Yeah, feel free to mentally check out of that world and come treasure hunt with us. So, Chaz, you were actually part of a panel at the Treasure Hunt Con talking about creating treasure hunts and your interest in doing that. And how did you start creating treasure hunts? How did that all come about?
Well, I did this a lot before treasure hunting was kind of a thing. I just used to create treasure hunts for friends at work. Like we would create treasure hunts at work and hide clues around the office and that sort of thing. So it's always something that I really enjoy doing and creating treasure hunts. And speaking of which, by the way, we have to talk about the last two treasure hunt token treasure hunts. So funny enough, both of them have been solved by the same person, goes by the name Jim Wygand on Discord, and he came in and also kind of bragged a little bit, like we asked him to, is come and tell us how you solved the treasure hunt. And so he solved treasure hunt 146, and he solved the one before it. But I thought I would run through, by the way, the solution for Treasure Hunt 146 because it wasn't solved for 2 weeks. So, if you go to Treasure Hunt 146 from the show notes from the previous show, it was showing a lady with headphones and there was a leaf in the bottom right corner for the QR code. Okay, so if you just Google headphones and leaf, you get a website called Leaf Studios. If you go in there, you'll see the little 10 and then the arrow around it icon that was on the treasure map. And right next to that are the words easy 10-day return. And that matches the dashes and words that was on the original treasure map. Now that you know the answer, you can see how easy it is to win it. And Jim made out. He made out with a decent amount of money. I think he's up to about $70 now just from listening to this podcast. So we're going to put another one up. Treasure Hunt 214 this time. You've seen how easy they are. Let's do it for, say, $30. And we're going to need a special code. What should the code be this week?
I think we should go with Beat Jim because you bet your bottom dollar I was on the computer Monday morning because after I waited my 2 weeks to try to solve it and I found out that it was solved. So I hope somebody else beats Jim this week,
I
but
like it.
Jim, good job.
I like it. Beat Jim. Let's make it one word. Beat Jim. Beat Jim. All in one word, okay? And maybe Jim Jim will beat Jim. We'll see. But he is the person to beat right now, and he killed it for those two. But let's get some more people in there. Real easy to do, and get some of that free money.
Right now, Jim is the Ken Jennings of Treasure Hunt
He
Token.
is. He's on the streak. All right. Well, let's jump into the news of the week. So, news of the week, that's not really news because I don't think it's that significant. I'll get into that in a second. But what's been popping
Fake
up
news of the week.
fake news of the week. What's been popping up a lot in the social media channels is that a family that went treasure hunting found a box in Max Patch, it was called, this area, looking for the Appalachian Trail box, and they found a tin with a gold coin in it and a note saying, "Sorry, I already found the John Collins Black treasure. I'm seeking legal advice, but I just wanted to let you know you're on the right track," or something like that. So, did you see this particular post?
I saw it and I wasn't really sure. I kind of came in around the whole drama about the post, and I kind of my brain went wah 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 when that started happening. So, but I saw the post. I saw that there was like a family that found it. I kind of think it's like the fake maps on Open Street Maps that somebody was like, okay, well, my solve took me to Max Patch to this place, so I'm gonna hide this coin and say, oh, you're on the right track, but I've already got it. Kind of trying to dissuade people from continuing to look for it.
We've seen enough of these, right? I want everyone to just disregard these things immediately. Probably every day on the internet, we get people saying they've solved the hunt. They know where it is. and still a box has not been found. So I don't understand why this is any different. And think about the logistics of this. Either two scenarios, okay? Either they found the box and then decided to come back later and place this tin with a gold coin in it, which is very unlikely why they would go and come back again to their spot. Or number two, they happen to carry around a tin and a gold coin with them wherever they travel. And when they find it, they write a little note and put the gold coin in the tin. It's so ridiculous. This is not even close to being something that's true, in my opinion. So please, everyone, just relax. If you see anything like this, if anyone's saying they found the box, 99% of the time, they haven't.
I'm personally not believing that any box is found until John Collins Black announces it himself because, like any good serial killer, just kidding, he's not a serial killer, but he's
No, we
going
know.
to return to the scene of the crime to make sure that the box is missing. But that's why we have people like Joe coming on the show who have done treasure hunts before, who are here to lead us newbies and be our sage of wisdom for how to actually go about doing treasure hunts. So we're going to talk to Joe. I guess, when do you want to bring him on?
I think we just bring him in now. He's waiting. Let's bring him in.
All right, let's go ahead and get Joe in.
Joe, welcome in. Welcome to the show.
Hey, hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm pretty well tonight. How are you two?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And for those who don't know, we've hit you at a really good time, right? Because you are ready to go boots on the ground tomorrow, correct?
I am, yeah, yeah.
So how you
I
feeling?
flew
You
in
feeling
tonight.
confident?
Pretty confident, yes. I was out before in the general area and I decided to come out again for another third time, I think, technically. And so, yeah, give this last area one last shot.
Are you visiting the same area that you've visited before, or are you going to three different areas?
The first two areas were kind of in the same general area, like, I don't know, 20-mile general outdoorsy area with a bunch of trails. And then this one is kind of north of that. It's the same part of the country. Like, I'm still going to California.
Oh, giving away
Yeah.
there, state of gold. Can you so let's go back to the very beginning because I wanted to talk to you about how you got involved in this in the first place. But have you done any treasure hunts before this particular hunt?
Yes, a few. So I got started probably with a fen search. I think I done a couple smaller ones, but nothing with the name, I don't think. And then fen search probably 2015, 2016 is when I got started. Did a few boots on the ground theory kind of things out there. Was obviously not fruitful. And then did smaller ones in the state that I live in, Colorado, just local things. And then this one came along. So
So how did you find out about it? Did you see it on a news story or the internet?
Yeah, there was a really old news story, like 21, 22 years, that like JCB had done like an interview saying that he was about to do a treasure hunt and he was part of the Fen thing or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'll keep track of this whenever he releases the book.
Oh, so you were onto it early, way earlier than I was, by the sounds of it. So you got the book. How did you choose which one to look for first?
Oh, so I did what JCB recommended and I read the whole book first. I ordered mine from Amazon. I got mine maybe like a couple days early from like the actual release date. Yeah, so I read the whole book first and then jumped on the Discord community, and this was like right before Calazars and Mysterious Writings like really blew up, and they were already focused on Past and the Future was a pretty hot topic, and the AT box was a pretty hot topic. I think those were kind of the easier boxes to dive into because they had images or the word dirt to really provide some kind of result.
Okay, so for this particular solve, are you telling us which one you're working on now? I assume it's Past and Future Box, since a lot of people think that's in California, but I'm not sure if you want to divulge that or not.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm shooting for California. I'm totally shooting for the Past and Future box, and
And the
then
state of gold,
yeah.
did that swing you? The state of gold clue?
Yeah. I kind of. already talked about this a little bit, at least on one of the discords. But yeah, so State of Gold, and a couple other items, both in the chapter text and then the word search itself, kind of solidified California. Like pretty early on, probably within the first week, I was like, okay, well, I'm not looking outside of California. So
Yeah, that's great. And you're going down my area here with the past and future box. So and the word search and everything like that. So I want to ask you something. And I'm not asking for you to give away your solve, but there is a particular consensus solve for the word search. If I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, if you've been looking into the discords, you might be familiar with it, but the words that are removed and the phrase that is left over saying there is five clues in this word search, etc., etc. Are you a believer in that consensus solve, or do you have your own solve for that?
yes, there are five clues in this word search, but do not tell anyone. There are no special bends or turns. Remain steady, just remain steady to complete the mission. Yep.
Yes, so you're a believer in that consensus solve, correct?
I'm a believer in the uh, there are special bends and
Oh
turns. Yes.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. But you've obviously gone further.
Hmm.
I assume
Or
you've
there
gone
are
further
no
with it.
special bends and turns, whatever it says. Yep. Yep.
So I assume you've gone further with it, the word search, than just that part of the solve.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, sounds confident. That's great. So,
Chaz is really into the word search, and I'm more of an Appalachian footpath gal myself. But we were talking about the word search a couple weeks ago because I pop in and help him every once in a while with an idea. And when I heard that word mission, I immediately thought of all the religious missions, Catholic missions, I believe they are in
Oh, yeah.
California. Is that part of your solve at all?
I have not, but that's a really good theory. That's a really good thought. Yeah.
well, maybe you could change your where you're going tomorrow based on But
I'll
that's
be
great.
looking
So,
around for sure.
but what I'm really curious about, which makes me really excited, is this is all the excitement I get is waiting for that moment where I'm looking through the book and I hit on something and I'm like, yes, that's it. So can you describe what that was like when you were looking through and you found some clues that hit?
The first set of clues that I think I'm going to lead with that I think that I have that I don't see on Discord that I don't see being talked about or anything like that. That very first time that I got that allowed me to like get confidence to go boots on the ground. Oh yeah, was super exciting. I stayed up all night trying to figure out more to see if like that puzzle would like work itself out in like other parts of the chapter and things like that. So yeah, it was. I would say that like the whole factor of like finding something new and like finding something that fit and like really allowed various things to fall into place provided that confidence for me to be like, oh shit, I'm going to go boots on the ground, a 19-hour road trip with two dogs.
So were you working the next day when you found all this and stayed up?
Oh yeah, yeah. I work a tech job, so it's fairly easy to stay behind a computer screen and produce work at times where it may not seem like normal business hours. So
So does anyone at work know that you're doing this as well?
yeah, I'm a manager and of a very small team, so I've with the very out of the line road trips to various states. Like, I mean, I'll take road trips and do my like hiking outdoorsy stuff, but very rarely do I go to California to just randomly. So, yeah, I let them know that I was searching for a treasure and I would be taking a bunch of random trips for the next year or so.
Well, one of my catchphrases for this show is down with normies because people who do this sort of thing are not normal. But don't you find it a little strange to tell your staff, I'm actually searching for treasure tomorrow, so I'm going to be taking some time off, or I was staying up late searching for clues for treasure?
Oh, 100%. It's a little weird at first, and then like their interest in it is so sincere like they're so like they think it's like the coolest thing in the world, and they're like good luck, and like like they have no clue that like 99% of solves are wrong, and like all of this other stuff, and like we're mostly going out to hike a lot of these trails and see beautiful things that we haven't seen before, but they get really excited about the treasure aspect, and like someone's actually going out to like search for it. Like that's kind of an unheard of thing in today's day and age.
But it sounds like they're in awe of it. They're not thinking you're a total weirdo.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Or they haven't told me that they think that I'm a total
Yeah,
weirdo
that's
yet.
right. That's right. So I saw your post and went and checked your blog. I'm going to put a link to it if you're okay in the show notes because you did a really good series on your previous boots on the ground experience. And I must say the photos you took were amazing. It looked like just like you would hope a treasure hunt would be. I seem to remember the greenery and the mist and the pathways through the trees.
I would say that the landscape did me a lot of favors.
Yes. Well, I
Yeah.
would recommend people to go check this out. I think it was really cool to kind of experience the boots on the ground without having to go do it as much, but it was as close as I felt like I've come to actually seeing what it would be like to go searching for boots on the ground. But do you want to walk us through what that experience was like? I know you recapped it as part of the blog, but for people who haven't seen it or don't have time to read through it at all, could you kind of recap what that experience was like? Did you get close at any point? Did you feel like you were onto something? Or was it kind of more of just a hike in the woods with your dogs?
Yes, I did think that I was onto something, and then quickly realized that I wasn't. I've got like an SUV. I threw everything in the back with my two dogs, and we drove the 21 hours or so out to the general area, and then really started just methodically going through each trail. My first spot was like a whole web of trails because I like to torture myself. But yeah, it was just really just going down each trail and trying to relate to the chapter. In this case, it was the past and future chapter. So, the under, over, in between, and into forest green, like really just trying to line that up and seeing if John was playing any kind of trickery with backwards and forwards and that kind of stuff.
But even the drive, the 21-hour drive, did you ever doubt yourself when you're driving out there that you had the right solve? That's a long, long, tiring drive. So did you ever think maybe I'm not on the right track with this, or did you doubt yourself or not?
Not on the way out there. No, I was excited. I was like sold that I had the spot, and that, at that point in time, it was like John was like playing a trick and like putting it back in this area that I was in. And yeah, I was completely excited. I called, all of my closest friends and was like, see you later. I'm, going to go find a treasure box, and, not going to be the same person in 8 hours or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no. And getting out there and getting boots on the ground, like I got out there at nighttime, so I couldn't see anything. I couldn't like, get that satisfaction right away. So I slept through the last few hours in the morning, and then when sunlight hit, I was like, yes, I'm in the right spot. Like this is forest green, and this is Sheens. Like I was pumped on the way out there for sure.
And then when you started, it sounded like in the very beginning was maybe where it was one of the biggest thrills because you felt like you'd hit on it pretty quick, right? Did your heart start racing when you felt like you started seeing things that were confirming it?
Oh yeah, like I was the only person out there because I was, like I'd basically woken up and like gotten out of my car, was like, boom, trail. And yeah, I was the only person out there, and I was looking under every rock, and there's a small stream, so I was looking anywhere along the stream and anything that could resemble a waterfall and all this other stuff. Like under this impression that like I was in the right spot. This is the spot, and I was there before anybody else. Was just all encompassing for sure.
So, aside from just being a treasure hunter and having experienced treasure hunting in general, it sounds like you're an outdoorsman as is and do a lot of hiking. And I mean, your dogs must be used to this. And
Mhm.
what Do you feel like having experience in the outdoors helps a lot, or do you think that this is still an accessible treasure hunt for anyone?
No, like the trails that I was hitting was super accessible. Your everyday kind of trails. They weren't back in the back country kind of stuff, which is where my confirmation bias was initially leading me towards, because that is my areas, like the really backcountry trails, and going into the depth of Colorado and Wyoming and Montana, and getting lost and stuff like that. Like I really had to challenge myself and be like, okay, let's make sure that these, like, the trails that I think are part of the solve are accessible and not something that's suited towards, something that I do on the day to day.
So it doesn't sound like at any point you really hit a bad low of feeling despondent or you weren't on the right track.
So I was out here for 9 days, and it was probably like day 7 that uh, I was like running like low on like my outdoorsy. I've got like a propane tank and batteries and food and all this other kind of stuff in the back of my car. And so I was like running low on supplies, and I was had my list of like all of these forest greens and beautiful sheens and all this, and I was trying to relate it to all these spots that I had checked out, or all of these like different trails that I'd hiked, and I couldn't make sense of it. Like nothing was lining up. I knew I'd get back to work in a couple of days, and I at that day, like day 7, I was like, "Yep, I'm just going to pack it all in and go home and do more research at home. Like obviously, I've got something wrong." And I almost did. Yeah, that night, I left my general area pretty late, pretty disheartened, and I like gotten to the point of like actually packing up where I was camping and stuff like that, and like getting to the point of getting on the road. And like that last second, I was like, okay, just give it one more day, or and maybe you'll find it, or maybe you'll stumble across something that makes sense.
Well, you might have. That's the thing. I've heard of treasure hunts where they went back one more time and they found it from there. So, you've gone back though. Have you done more research? Have you changed the solve you had from the first one?
I would say that I've gotten more specific.
So one thing I'm interested in knowing is as someone who has gone boots on the ground before and has done this, do you have like any like boots on the ground Eve like pre-game rituals that you like to do?
So I play this perspective game, and I review all of my boots on the ground research that I did from my, desk chair or wherever, right? And I try to think about like, what am I going to think about when I'm actually there? Like, because that's going to be a really big shift. Like you think you know what a tree looks like because you saw somebody take a picture of it on Google Maps or something like that. But then you get there and that tree is so much more magnificent than any picture ever did it justice. But then that also plays into your boots on the ground kind of clues, like, oh, wait a minute, like this tree has a lot more detail than any picture that I saw online. uh, and that's kind of carried throughout the entire boots on the ground experience, where in some ways you kind of have to check your confirmation bias because everything's kind of a clue. Any arrow is like, oh, wait, is that the arrow that I saw in, John's AT map? And, is this the same circle from the word search? And, things like that.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with your experience so far?
No, no, nothing without acting like a rooster. So
That's true. This is your platform to do that. Well, thanks very much. I don't want to take too much of your time because you are going boots on the ground tomorrow for another big hike, and we don't want you staying up late talking to mugs like us. So I'm gonna let you go, but good luck tomorrow. We'd love nothing more than to hear the boxes found tomorrow, and we'll know it's you.
thank you. Yeah, no, hopefully. And good luck with both of your boots on the ground experiences. I've been following those, and yeah, this has been great stuff.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Both of you.
Well, that was great talking to Joe. He seems like a really good guy. And if anybody finds a box other than me, you, Diego, Froggy, and the many people on Discord, I hope it's him.
That's right. I mean, I think we're establishing the A team here. Diego, I think, was in a really good spot. Joe is sounds like the outdoor machine. Froggy's got all the brains. He's coming up with all the solves. It's like I said last time, it's a little intimidating, I have to say, of all the people we've got to compete against to find this thing.
It's competing, but also I feel like it's competing within a very friendly community. Like, I think that I'm rooting for those people just as much as I am myself.
I am, yeah, maybe not quite as much, but definitely close. And definitely, if I want someone other than me to find it, I want one of these guys to find it.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it. We had a big chat with Joe and went over some of the news of the week. We still have a lot of content to go through, but we'll go through it next week when we catch up again and get back through some of the backlog that was created when we're out for a week.
Yeah, and I specifically want to hear about your chats that you had with John Collins Black at Treasure Hunt Con.
Oh, yes, all those secret chats I had with him that no one else had.
Doom, doom, doom.
Okay, well, I'll speak to you next week, management. Hope you have a great week and hope everyone else out there has a great week too.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.